Get this going.
Yep.
Greetings, Internet. I'm Kyle. Joining me is...
John.
Dan.
And we decided that since we like to talk about tactics, we like to talk about movies, and we like to complain about things, that we're going to start by complaining about tactics in movies on the Internet.
Oh, yes.
So,
This is going to go horribly wrong.
we decided we're going to start with the most popular thing to crap on. Star Wars Episode 1.
Oh, yes.
So
good.
we are going to talk about the Battle of Naboo, where the Gungans fought the droid army.
Misa don't know how to fight.
Clearly the Gungans didn't. By the Emperor of Mankind, they are stupid.
No arguing there.
That said, the Trade Federation's not that much better.
Yeah, no joke, right?
Suppressing fire, it's a thing.
So why don't we review what happened with the battle in the movie?
So, just reading off the notes here. The Battle of Naboo, the Gungans begin with marching and riding dinosaurs, awesome, into an open plain, not awesome, allowing the enemy army to take the high ground, unleash their troops, and then march their troops into their defensive area.
And it's Star Wars, so we know how the enemy having the high ground goes.
Right.
The primary weapon of the Gungan seems to be some sort of electrical sphere or an EMP sphere, for all we know, that disables droids if they're touched. The Gungans naturally deploy such weapons by throwing them or slinging them, or in some points using a catapult.
The Ewoks made more sense.
Right. At least they knew how to use guerrilla tactics.
Naturally, the Gungans lost, but Deus Ex Machina saves the day when a young space wizard blows up the only thing controlling the droids.
Space wizards.
Space wizards making everything worse for everyone else.
I like Star Wars, but that is a synopsis of pretty much every Star Wars movie.
Of course. Absolutely.
Should I just read this off and cross out Gungans and write in Rebels for the next one?
You're right, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except minus the poorly throwing electrical balls at robots part. That was not well thought out.
At least everyone else had guns at every other point in it.
Yeah.
Which actually makes it more interesting to discuss the original trilogy stuff.
Yep. I think my biggest problem with the Gungans is just the fact that being outmatched and outclassed in technology, which, I mean, they have their honor system or whatever where they had to go out and do battle, but they had access.
They never explore that.
They don't have.
They don't have to. The Gungans were superfluous.
Yeah,
but
and they had access to the information to know that they were outclassed. Why not attack from multiple directions? Why not, try to lure the enemy into where you have the advantage in the water, for crying out loud?
That is one of the notes I made, is why did the Gungans not do something tactically? Like, say, a fighting retreat. Every time the droids start to get into the shield, they just keep backing up, hurling these objects at them.
Maybe they couldn't train the dinosaurs to walk backwards.
The entire point of this battle...
They pretty much all look like theropods, so they move a lot like birds.
Yeah.
They can walk backwards.
I'm sure they can.
The entire point of this battle was to draw forces out of the city. So, showing that the Gungan forces assembling and, say, retreating into the woods and then using hit-and-run tactics against a droid army that's trying to march in formation wouldn't be bad. Oh, the droids are trying to retreat? Well, we'd better march forward to show them that we're still here.
Well, the other thing, too, like with the droids, why would you deploy your forces in a position that makes them vulnerable? Like, granted, the Gungans didn't have the ability to shoot, but if they could, I really hope that that's not the droids' army's tactic in every battle. Like, oh, hold on a second, guys. Let's just, drop our army out in a vulnerable position for everyone to shoot at us.
In full view of the enemy.
Yeah.
No less.
Also, for the Gungans, why did they not take the hill? Their primary weapon is a ball.
You just roll them down the hill.
Roll them down the hill. Let gravity kill your enemies for you. A tactic almost as old as time. Gravity killing your enemy.
Oh,
Does anyone remember the cliff that's called Skull Bastion? It's where the Native Americans would scare buffalo into running off a cliff and dying, killing their prey for them and leaving them with enough food for the winter.
We also have evidence of this being done in Europe with various large mammals there. Mammoth, bison especially, actually, aurochs.
no kidding.
It's a really popular tactic because it works.
Remember, friends, let gravity do the killing for you so you don't have to appear in court.
The other thing that like I don't get.
Gravity doesn't freeze up at the end.
The other thing I don't get is like, okay, the droids could walk through the force field. So the droid's not that much different than any other machine. Why didn't they just drive the tanks through the force field?
Because that would make sense.
Well, isn't that the whole thing we're talking about here? Is why things don't make sense.
It's the writing in the prequels. It's never going to make sense.
Since we don't get awesome robot battle versus weird amphibious dinosaur people.
Okay, so
I
I
know.
don't actually have a problem with battle droids marching into formation. They're in universe. Their explanation is they're cheap to make, easy
Yeah.
to manufacture,
We all know this is after it was written.
And pretty much
It's justifications after the fact.
this is what I would
Although
do
they should
with
probably
my
have deployed
Imperial
him
Guardsmen.
first, then had him walk into the battlefield.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole deploying thing in front of him is kind of silly.
Well, yeah, if you do it outside of enemy range, it doesn't matter. And let's face it, the Gungans brought no ranged weapons.
Yeah, that's sadly true. And also, the
How
Gungans...
often the droids use their blasters, and from what range they started, did they bring any ranged weapons?
At least they can hit better than the stormtroopers.
Sadly, in a
Yes.
universe where droids are said to be not as efficient as the organics, droids hit better than stormtroopers.
At least on screen.
Right.
At least on screen.
Yeah, we can only use the source material we got. Although I have to say, I think the Gungans' worst tactical plan. I'd really like to talk to their general. Who let Jar Jar on the battlefield?
He was made general. He was head general of the Gungans, showing that Boss Nass was not only incompetent, he needed to be overthrown.
Oh
So
yeah,
make
that's
him a
right.
general.
He was the general.
Yes, Darth Jar Jar decided to create as much chaos as he could by making himself general. Once again, space wizards causing all of the problems in Star Wars.
Yo.
I have no problem with the Empire as a whole. It's the Emperor I have a problem with. Hashtag not my Emperor.
The other thing that like I don't get is like, okay, they got these shields, right, that can block the blaster shots from the robots. Those robots don't appear to be very dexterous or quick. They move pretty slowly. Why didn't they just grab a whole bunch of those shields, rush the droids, thereby making themselves pretty much immune to the fire, get into melee range, beat up the droids, take their guns, and start shooting the other droids with the guns?
More important is why were the Gungans in charge of holding the shields up? When one of the Gungans actually managed to get clipped, they went down, causing everyone behind them to die instantly due to overwhelming fire.
Well, they didn't understand the rule of
They've never heard
the
of
rule of two.
Prometheus.
You know, one man holds the gun, one man reloads the gun. When the man with the gun dies, the guy reloading the gun picks up the gun and shoots the gun. They weren't trained properly, clearly.
Clearly, Gungans were never trained to fight a large war.
Which kind of makes some sense.
Well, yeah.
It makes sense. They mostly fought off sea monsters. Oh god, why are there such huge sea monsters?
Based off their weaponry, though, what did they use to kill the sea monsters? I mean, it's got a sort of a tangent.
I'm
point,
Don't ask.
I'm assuming that's what that's what the electric balls are for. Is basically
Oh yeah, like electric eel.
yeah, it's an electric
Okay.
eel.
That's a good repurposing.
That's my theory on the Gungan
I
weapons.
don't know how those work. Might be able to figure it out over time, but I'm not bothering.
To be fair, I spent 0 hours on Wikipedia looking any of this up.
Right.
I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm not that big of a Star Wars fan. That's my brother.
I got a
It was
book that
not
has
here.
all the breakdown of the droid carriers and the tanks and stuff.
It has very lovely pictures, I'm sure.
It does. Even has like the cutaways. The other thing too, like about the droid carriers that kind of bugs me is like they have guns on the side, and like I'd imagine that those guns, if they're going to deploy the droids in the way that they do, would be to provide covering fire while the droids deploy. So then, why are the guns positioned exactly in the place where the droids come out at?
Also, why do they stop doing suppressive fire before they deploy?
Yeah, they should have
I
shown
can
that a little
understand
better.
shooting shields when they're still up. You're keeping the enemy from.
You could
doing
possibly
anything.
overload the shield and break it.
Except we've never seen
Oh wait, sorry,
any
that's Star Trek, not
automatic
Star Wars.
fire in Star Wars until Rogue One, and that was one guy's gun. And even then, it didn't have that much rate of fire. You'd think they'd just figure out a machine gun, as in
No, you
slug
just-
thrower.
The other thing that always kind of baffled me was what the heck is the energy source that they're using for the shield in the first place?
not important.
Dinosaurs.
Oh yeah, right. Sorry, dinosaurs.
They're literally grounding up dinosaurs, just shoving him to the shield generator. That's why dinosaurs are carrying him, is so they know who's next.
So petroleum?
Yes.
Don't tell Bush.
Oh.
Oh god. Can you imagine Bush just declaring war on the dinosaurs to liberate the Gungans?
One thing I would like
The
to say.
Gungans will treat us as liberators.
One thing I would like to say about the Federation tactics, though, as bad as they were, I do like that they sent in the sacrificial droids first before they sent in the hardcore droids. That was at least a good tactic. Send in the heavies as the mop-up crew instead of risking your good equipment to cut their losses. I mean, granted, yeah, they lost a lot of the sacrificial droids, but then the droidicas just kind of came in and just mopped everything up.
So
Yeah.
I will also say, in the name of the droid army, because this technically isn't the, is this the Trade Federation? I know it's not the independent system of planets yet, but would this be? I don't know. I didn't look any of this up to double check it. So sorry, internet, you're going to be screaming at me if anyone ever watches this video.
Which is not going to happen, so no problem.
You're right.
But I will say I kind of like the tank design for the tank that they used.
Oh,
Huge
yeah.
fan of hover tanks.
Oh yeah, it's
Um,
beautiful.
I think it's a good design as a tank because
By the way, Repulsor best Space Marine tank.
Well, it also has a good option for armoring on the front of it too.
yeah, because everything on that tank is
And
curved.
the angle allows for glancing hits.
Yeah, everything is going to glance that thing. Nothing's going to be a true head-on hit.
Yeah.
My problem with this tank is twofold. One, why is a droid piloting it?
It should just be
Why
automated.
is
It's
this
a
not
robot.
an automated tank in and of itself?
Because we have to have robots piloting robots.
This isn't Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. We don't need 5 robots piloting a robot.
How do you know the tanks can't pilot the other tanks? They just stack on
That
top
makes
of
Star Wars
each
so
other.
much better, though.
Yeah, it would make Star Wars so much better because the space wizards would be using their manliness to summon robots to fight each other.
Hey, Disney, get on this.
So, one thing I want to know is, why do you need a whole tank if it's one piloted by droids, 2 you have anti-grav available?
Mm-hmm.
Why can you not just stick some sort of anti-grav plate on the bottom of that gun and just have it drive at something?
Intimidation factor, easier to take out an unarmored gun than an armored vehicle with a gun.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that would be very easy to
the tank could also ram
produce
into
is
things.
just the gun and have
Yeah,
it
but if you're
fly
ramming the
off
tank,
and start
something's
shooting.
wrong.
Ah, man, Halo style. Well, like my biggest issue with a lot of the design with the droids too is, why go through all that trouble to make walking droids? Like, Trax vehicles can do anything that a walking droid can do.
I completely agree with you. I will
Hell,
say,
why even bother with treads or wheels? They've produced hover bikes for droids.
Yeah, exactly.
Anti-grav droid platforms.
Which is another joke. Why does the droid need a hover bike? Why not just make a hover droid?
Maybe they somehow couldn't allocate resources to design one?
I guess.
so I will say that in-universe explanation for the B1 battle droid is that it was not intentionally designed as a battle droid.
Mhm.
Because they
pretty
suck
much-
as battle droids, and the expanded universe writers knew this After they wrote it.
Basically, they were just service droids meant for areas with lots of stairs and whatnot that were just given a blaster, updated their targeting software, and let them off into battle. This is also why they're so talkative. Is basically they weren't
Roger.
They were not programmed to handle this much information, and they're just trying. Their processes are sending things through different systems, and they're just like talkie,
Shoot, bang,
try
bang.
to
Didn't the
keep.
B2s talk a fair bit too?
Yeah, I think they
I
do.
believe the B2s
Their
talk
voice sounds really
mostly-
weird, though.
I believe that was mostly in the cartoons, which I have not gone around
Okay,
watching.
Oh, okay.
I plan to because I want to see Grand Admiral Thrawn. I'm just lazy.
Literally just putting something on a screen and staring at it for a few hours.
I want to watch the good episodes.
Ah. Yeah, that's fair.
So I'm going to give some props to this movie. A lot of things, if they were stationary, were a prop. Like, that wasn't supposed to be a joke.
No, it works.
but-
Let's go with it.
You mean like the majority of the droid army?
You should not have said that
Cardboard
last
cutouts
part.
with guns.
But, like, when they were... If something was just sitting still, it was actually a model, it was physically there.
Yeah.
So I have to give the movie credit for that.
Yeah, definitely a lot of work with that.
That said, recycling the Windows Vista default background might not have been the best choice.
Yeah, that was a pretty poor choice, and I can't believe I forgot to put that into the synopsis of this fight.
It is really funny to watch videos of the droids dying and then making Windows sounds. Dum dum dum.
Yeah. Easy to do.
So, all in all,
Anyone with a Windows computer sampled that before, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
all in all,
Just saying as someone who has a Windows computer.
the droid army, I would give a C-. I think that just swarm tactic, whatever. And you know what? Yeah, they stupidly deployed, but they could.
In that
they
situation.
They knew that their enemy couldn't hit them at that range.
Yeah,
so,
I guess we don't know if that was actually their standard doctrine.
Yeah. So I'll give
They don't
them
explain that.
a C- to a C. They could have done a lot of things better, but you know what? I'm a sucker for swarm tactics. Ask anyone who survived my tactics.
Although based off of how the Trade Federation dealt with the Space Wizards, I don't have a lot of faith in their ability to understand things.
On the other hand,
No, no.
I am giving the Gungans a solid F. They deserve to go extinct.
Well, they
Probably
kinda-
know they did.
I'm pretty sure they did.
So what would you rate the two armies?
I will say that the Trade Federation's gross misuse of resources is not a good strategy in combat, especially for a long-term war. And I think that is a big part of why they just didn't stand a chance in the first place. So I will say that given the scenario, they did decent. They could have done a lot better. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with probably a C on that. I will say that the Gungans working with basically nothing, no information, and no hope, the strategy they came up with was halfway decent. They definitely could have made some minor adjustments to do a lot better. I'll give them a D, just because I feel like they were definitely the underdogs in that situation and were coming from a much worse position, and they made do with what they did, whereas the Federation misused their resources. They had the advantage, and they still did stupid.
You're all being way too generous with the Trade Federation.
Right.
I'm giving them a D at best.
Yeah.
And I assume the
The-
Gungans an F.
Yes. The Trade Federation, to me, their main problem is if they're operating in response to the enemy they're facing, yeah, I can see that working, but I wouldn't even fight a battle like this if I was trying to occupy things.
Yeah.
Even people who can't really stand up to me. My main objective would be to break their resistance as quickly as possible, so probably overwhelming fire and
Yeah, be as efficient as you can and spend as little amount of money as
Yes.
you can.
Precisely. This is going to be a long occupation.
If
You
they
actually
win.
think of, yes, and they expected to, didn't they? Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone into the fight at all.
Oh, yeah,
I
sure.
will argue against you on that part because they were just trying to settle a trade dispute. They weren't planning to occupy the planet long term. They were just trying to get them to sign off on some sort of legislation.
And,
Yeah.
and the main objective of fighting is to break your enemy's resistance at the least cost to yourself.
Gross
Yeah.
misuse of resources. They could have done
So,
that a lot more
You
efficiently.
can still accomplish that by just hitting the enemy with overwhelming fire in this kind of scenario.
It'd be like what the Trade Federation did is like playing a game of Civilization and finding a barbarian encampment when you're in the modern era, and then bringing in like 10 units of people with guns to go deal with.
And sending them in one at a time at low health.
Right? Like, wasn't the best way to handle that situation. There was no need for it.
You'll win eventually, but it's going to cost.
Yeah, but then again, the
More
Trade
than it
Federation's
needs
not
to.
very smart anyway. So...
And the Gungans, yeah. In their position, I probably would want to try to break up the Trade Federation army as much as possible, force them into as many different small engagements as I can.
Yeah, guerrilla
and
tactics.
And bait off their units, then try to hit as many of them as possible,
Yeah,
one at
those,
a time with overwhelming force.
all those tanks, they don't have turrets on. The guns just face forward. The whole vehicle has to turn around to shoot behind it. So just come up from the
So they're
backside.
more mobile
It
artillery.
is a turret on the top.
Okay.
They have a little one, but the main gun's not on the big tanks.
So that's a turret because Jar Jar got on it and was.
Oh,
yeah,
it did. Oh, yeah, it did
yeah.
rotate. Okay, yeah.
The advantage of being the one to watch the movie before we do this discussion.
Whatever.
Eh.
But
Being overrated.
the transports don't have that. They still could have
yes.
got behind those, and then how many of those stupid glowy ball things that they have to stick on the underside of those things to f it up? I mean,
Yeah, it's standard anti-tank warfare by infantry. Really.
yeah, if it screws up the droids, it definitely screws
Get
up
in
the
an
tanks.
ambush and stick your fire bombs, your grenades, whatever, down whatever hatches you can get.
Yeah, if only they had the experience to know how to dig trenches.
It's not about trenches, it's about finding cover.
Yeah, hide in a foxhole.
I don't see
As
trenches
the hover
being
tank
all that
goes over
useful
you because you
hover
don't have to
tanks.
worry about it driving over the top of you.
So, any other points on this movie you'd like to bring up?
Not
Or
much
at
for
least
this battle.
this
honestly.
particular
There's not that much.
No, I think
going on in
we
it.
got it.
So,
The simplicity of it is part of why I think it was so badly done.
Yeah.
It actually should have been simpler in many respects for the Trade Federation. It was the Gungans who needed to do something complicated to pull it out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
so what do you think? Did we miss anything? Did we,
Are we complete blithering idiots?
Yes, are we complete blithering idiots?
Let us know in the comments.
If you actually watch this. Please watch this.
We have families to feed. Actually, no, we don't. But still.
Oh jeez. All right.
I think I pulled a Jeb Bush.
All right. Thanks for watching.